Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are tuning in from. This is BS Buddies Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. A podcast where we have talked about surviving on a deserted island with $50 beforehand and bought supplies. And we've talked, kind of have to explain that because just going to an island with $50 isn't going to do you much good.
There was one Coca-Cola vending machine on the island. Let me tell you, we got all the Cokes on the island with $50.
And we've talked about good and bad concerts we've been to, good and bad restaurants we've been to, and hit subscribe if you're new. But today, we're going to talk about our schooling experience from high school onward.
Yeah, we'll talk about just high school and in general and the way that it's definitely changed a lot. I don't know about you, but I feel like high school and like the social climate around it has been ever more rapidly changing as we've gone through the 21st century, right? Like if you talk about people, like you've talked to Gen X and like their high school experience, it seems like a lot of their high school experience across the board was relatively the same. But then you enter the 21st century and you start talking to like millennials and then Zoomers and so forth. And it's like every 5 years or so, the social culture changes. And I feel like part of that is due to the internet. But I digress. Joe.
I do want to say one thing in terms of that. It seemed like growing up and like hearing about high school and then starting to get into high school, it seemed like seniors hung out with seniors, juniors hung out with juniors, and if you're from European countries, this isn't gonna make any sense. And I apologize. I can't remember what the like yours is secondary school, I think, and I don't know exactly what you call every grade, but I'm talking 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
Go on the internet and look up whatever the comparison is for whatever school you went through, and it'll all make sense.
But
or maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know how your school went.
Sophomores hang out with sophomores. Freshmen hang out with freshmen. Freshmen are just basically little dweebs that the seniors just bully
all the time.
That's what I understood for a long time. And I felt like from me being a freshman to me being a senior, that really changed. I know.
Okay.
Like, as a freshman, I had friends who were like juniors and seniors, more juniors than anything. And like, it seemed like they were very willing to help me out when I needed. Otherwise, they left me alone for the most part. And then when I became a senior, like it seemed like we were very inclusive of like the younger grades. So like we had a lot of like juniors we would hang out with, and then even sophomores. Like I think out of my entire high school experience, and this could be a little biased, but I feel like me as a senior in my class, we treated the freshmen so good. Like like nobody really picked on the freshmen at all that I saw, and just really very friendly nature, especially in sports, like just fooling around with them, not like saying like, hey, you are below me, stay there. It was more like, hey, I'm going to pick on you, and if you can take it, then we'll be just fine. And then the freshmen dish it out on the seniors, and I felt like it got to be a really good environment.
Yeah, and I feel like social media and in effect the internet, because if we're being completely honest, we grew up in, I don't want to say the golden age of the internet, but I will say the renaissance era of the internet, right? Because I remember, same as you, I remember growing up and you used to watch the old movies and see the videos and oh, the big buff jock is shoving the nerd in the locker and smacking books out of his hands for no reason. And you kind of go into high school with this perception that just everyone's going to be mean to you all the time, unless you're like 6'4", 230 pounds and can like push a man across a classroom with one shove. You know what I mean? And then we got there and it was
I had one of those things checked off. The 6'4"
Six
part.
four, the 6'4".
I was probably about 50 pounds lighter than that, but you know,
Yeah, everyone just went, "Whoa, look at this guy!" and
I
but
still
no,
get
it was.
that. It's getting annoying, but you know, carry
I
on.
will say, I will say for certain that there was still like social cliques and circles. So circles. Oh my god, my
Search.
English. Circles. I don't know.
We need to go back to high school.
I don't know. I don't know
But
what's
yeah,
happening with my
there's
brain.
definitely those clicks still,
There's
for
circles.
sure.
There's still social circles, and when you
Socials.
when you jam a couple hundred kids together who are all, or thousand even, for bigger schools, when you jam a couple thousand kids together that are all going through hormonal changes, you're still going to see some of the usual bullying and the
Yeah.
ousting and social groups, yada yada yada. But I feel like as a whole, that stereotype of like the old jock versus nerd was kind of out the door by the time we got into high school. And I feel like part of that was like the renaissance of social media. Like I remember when Snapchat came out. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if you
I
remember this. I
I
remember
had
when
it
it
like
first
the
came
first
out.
year.
And it was like it was revolutionary. Well, I shouldn't say revolutionary, but it was like, oh, you can send a quick picture to your friend and then it goes away. And like there was no streaks, there was no snap maps, there was no highlights,
There
there
was
was
no
no story.
filters,
It was literally just messaging. It was like, hey, look, you
messaging
can
and pictures.
take a quick picture, send it to your friend, and that was it. That was the whole concept behind it. And
Now you can video call. You there's snap.
yeah,
You can locate where your friends are at almost any given moment,
and so
for the most part.
I feel like the culture of high school has changed a lot since what it used to be, even going back to like 2000 and forward. And I don't know if that just like lent itself to the shenanigans that we got up to, or even the fact that we're from smaller towns, because I won't lie, the first time I know we were going to make this about ourselves, but this is kind of being high school in general. Like the first time I talked to some of my buddies when I was out west, and they told me it's like, oh yeah, I had a graduating class of like 1,230. I was like, that is insane. Like they'd be like, "Oh yeah, there are people in my class." I had no idea who they were. I just had my small little circle that I hung out with. I'm like, I knew the name of every single person in my class and their parents. Like you'd go to school. Oh hey, you were in the basketball game last weekend. Oh yeah. Oh, it sucks that you missed the shot. Oh, thank you. Feeling sorry for like it's
Yeah.
so it was this weird. Everybody knew everybody, and outside of the cliques that existed and all of that, I think generally everyone had just like it was like even if I don't hang out with that person, even if I don't like them, there's really nothing for me to go out of my way and like pick on them, be mean, be a dick. So it's just kind of like, you know what? You do your thing and I'll do mine thing. There's always exceptions to the rule. Don't let me
The
be misunderstood. There's always exceptions to the rule, but generally by the time we were going through, yeah, it was pretty much like a everybody knows everybody kind of situation, and there's just not much of a clash. Is that the word I'm
for,
looking for?
for me,
Disconnect. Hierarchy. That's the word I'm looking for.
I
Hierarchy.
we definitely had a bit of a hierarchy, but I don't think enough people really cared. Like it was definitely there, but it's most of the time people just stuck together. I think my hierarchy, I don't think I was very high on it, but since I was a multiple sport athlete and one of them, not to toot my own horn, but I was really good at and was very reliable at. So, like, the more popular guys, like, I became friends with. So, I was like, but at lunch, I would hang out with more like the nerdy, quote unquote, kids who talked about anime. So for me, I felt like I could kind of flow either or. It was more
You
depending on the time of year. Like fall, I only played football for 1 year, so like I was more away from the football players. Granted, one of them was my cousin, and still talk to him every day. But once I got into basketball, it was a little different because I was playing. And then once baseball season, like every season felt different. And I felt like I could kind of ebb and flow, kind of however I
In
pleased.
between them. I will say, as far as my experience goes, is yeah, I felt like I could flow a lot between the different groups that existed. I kind of bounced around. I had a lot of terrible tendencies that, like I've said previously, if I could go back in time and meet my high school self, fight on sight. I'm beating my past self into the dirt because I was a moron about a lot of things. But that
I would pay.
hindsight 2020 comes with experience and all
I
that.
would pay so much money to watch that.
I'll
Like
get it in octagon. I'll do a
y-
UFC fight with myself.
your younger self would.
Fold, fold like an
I.
omelet.
You know what? I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go into it. I'll tell you after. I, it's best I just tell you later.
My younger self would fold like an omelet, if I'm being completely honest here.
But
God, where was I going with this now? I
I
lost my
don't know.
train of thought.
But I want to redirect it a little bit. What what kind of student were you? Like, were you a
A
good
nerd.
student?
I
Okay.
was a nerd. I was an overachiever by way too many stretch of the imaginations. I Well, and part of that was from the fact that as I grew up, my parents always pushed me to do well in school and to if you're going to do something, do it well, right? So then it became a contest of my own personal pride for me to do well on something, right? Like if I got worse than like a B on anything, I was in shambles. I was like, "Oh my gosh, how could I fail this so horrifically? How could I do so terribly at it?" And I just like sink into this hole of like, "Oh no, what have I done?" And now that I'm older, now it's more of a you win some, you lose some. It'll be okay in the end. And so that's one of those things that, yeah, looking back, like it used to be. I got taken. Well, I shouldn't say taken advantage of by my friends, but like whenever we do like those big group projects like science, English, or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
all my friends wanted me to be in their group because I was a I don't want to say control freak or micromanager because I don't like telling people what to do. However, I can envision what I want to happen in a very particular and specific way. So just give me that part of the project because I know you're going to fuck it up anyway. So just let me do it so that I can do it the
What
correct way. I was very much that kind of person.
was my cousin a part of those groups?
A couple of times.
Yeah, because his younger brother w- definitely leached off me a lot in high school. A
If you're watching,
lot.
buddy, hi. Hope all is
You
going
know what you
well.
did.
Oh man. And yeah, and I definitely took things way too seriously in high school. But then again, my frame of reference, that's all I knew was high
Oh.
school. So to me, that was like the world's most serious thing. So like I said, if I could go back now, oh yeah, I'd punch my younger self in the face. Granted, I'm still happy that I did well in school and I still appreciate the fact that I put effort into the things that I do because I want to do them well for my own sake. But I definitely took things way too seriously, and I needed multiple chill pills. I needed the whole chill bottle, if I'm being
You
honest with
needed
you.
a prescription refill.
I needed something, man. I don't know
For
what was going on back then. I couldn't tell you.
for me, freshman year I did pretty, I want to say pretty well. Like I never had like a very high GPA. Granted, I didn't really try to do that. Um when I wanted to work hard at a class, I would. And freshman year was okay, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail unless we do a separate episode, but 10th and 11th grade, I learned what depression was really hard. So I was basically average C student. I remember 10th grade was probably my worst year of schooling. I think I had like 4 D's for grades, and I just kind of fell apart that year. That was a really bad year in general for me. Uh, Junior year, 11th grade, it picked up a little bit, but I still had some not so great grades. And then senior year, I mean, was relatively easy just because it usually is.
It's
And
senior
I
year.
I did I did really well that year and brought my GPA I think to like a 3.2, 3.3.
Okay, yeah,
But
there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's still great by any measure of the standard. And I think one of the things, just thinking of those 4 years, freshman to senior, one of the things that I wish I would have put more effort into while simultaneously not worrying so much about was sports. I'm not talking football. No, 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 no. I would have died. I was
yes, you
I'm sure you guys have seen. I am a scrawny individual. I am still a very scrawny individual, but I'm not necessarily unathletic. I enjoy sports now, and I enjoy having more fun now. But when I was younger, I just had this like inability to grasp the concept that the sports were just for fun. Like for me, my head was always in the competition zone. Like if I miss this basket, or if I do this, then I've horribly failed, and everyone is going to think that I am the worst player in the entire world. And it would just put me into this roller coaster of highs and lows. And
I've seen those highs and lows.
shut
I
up.
was
Shut
teammates with
up.
those highs and lows. We
Shut up.
still
Shut
gotta
up.
talk about that in a video.
Shut up. Shut up. We're not talking about that right now.
Okay. I,
But I wish I would have given some more effort into enjoying the game just for what it was. And I think part of that stems from the fact that because I always had to have good grades, therefore I always had to be good in sports. And if I wasn't good in sports, then it would just absolutely kill my confidence in being able to do that sport, when really at the end of the day it was more about just enjoying and having fun with it. And I feel like I could have been a lot better if I'd have loosened up, but unfortunately it's one of those things that I never really learned or experienced until after I got out of high school. And by that point, well, it was too late. But now I really enjoy, going, like, granted, I'd probably be winded and have my legs hurt for an entire week afterwards, but like going to the basketball court, play a game of pickup hoops, or like some recreation baseball. Oh yeah, I'd be all about it. Even if we went out to play a recreation game of baseball and I struck out every single time, disappointing, but there'll be another game. It's not that big of a
yeah.
deal. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that I wish I would have given a bit more effort into, while not being so stitched up in my head about it. Which,
Yeah.
like I said, shush, shush.
I'm not
we,
I'm
we
not
don't
gonna
want to
say
talk
it.
about
I'm
that.
not gonna say it.
Yeah, but you were thinking it. I know you were
I
thinking it.
was I was a little bit ago, yes. Um then moving out of high school, college, which we each did 1 year. I'll start with mine because I had you start with high school. Um, yeah. So about that, didn't do so hot. I started out in IT, which was a huge mistake because I was like, oh, I love video games. I'll just go into IT. That's something I'm probably interested in. Within 2 months, I withdrew from half of my classes, tried to do the last one and failed. I had two other classes. I had college algebra, which I also failed. And I think I had public speaking was the other one, and I passed that with a B. Pretty pretty good at public speaking. Second semester, I took 3 classes. I took college psychology, some career class, and then rock and pop music. I got a C in psychology. I did not do the final at all, which Yeah. I
But
passed.
you just skip out on it, or was there other occurrences that
No, I
prevented you
just didn't do it. Just straight up did
participating?
not do it.
Oh,
Um,
I don't need to do that.
um, the careers class was absolutely stupid. There was like two professors, and it was like they were treating us like children in a way, like they're like way too nice is what I'm trying to say. Like it's
Hmm.
just like
Just babying
I
you along, and
yeah,
you're like, "Look, man, I've been through the ringer. I know how to do this. Yeah,
I pa-
just teach, please."
I passed that class, but like it didn't feel like it did anything. And rock and pop music, I should have aced. I could have aced, no problem, but I didn't put in the work.
You just didn't
Towards
want to.
towards the end, um, I talked to my professor, and she's like, "Yeah, like you should probably like it's not worth it to even come into class anymore because you're just gonna fail." And she's like, "Give me 1 second though," and she put in A's for the rest of the assignments, and she's like, "If you pass the rest of your assignments, you'll get a D." And that's exactly what I did.
You're just like, "All right,
So
I can do this."
this is another like I could go into more detail in a separate episode about this. It just mentally was not probably not a good thing for me to go to college the way that I did. But after that year, I got put on academic suspension, which is like the worst. Like you have academic probation and academic suspension, and suspension is the worst of the two. So I haven't been back to school since, and I mean I'll talk about my plans for future after Ian talks about his year.
So my year at college was, I think it was more about just going because I fell right into. I shouldn't say fell into the trap, but I believe the whole, "Oh, you got to go to college after high school if you want to get a good job," which I've got different opinions about all of that, but we'll save that for maybe an episode where we go into more details. Um, I went in to just get my generals done because I figured, well, if I'm going to eventually choose something to go to school for someday, I want to have those generals done and out of the way. Because personally, I thought generals were really stupid. If I'm picking a degree or, something in some such field, like, let's say plumbing, why in the world do I need to go and learn about how to do public speaking? Public speaking has nothing to do with plumbing. However, I digress. So I went to go get all of my generals done, and it wasn't honestly too bad. I don't even remember how many classes I had at this point. I think I just picked a smattering of generals that you needed for like your liberal arts, your AA, your most
Yeah.
basic of basic. And so they included public speaking, which I took, foreign film studies, I believe, or foreign films of some sort. Don't remember why that was the way it was. What else did I have there? Gosh, it's been so long I can't even, like, a sociology class. I had a sociology class. And I feel like there was a fourth one, but I don't quite remember what it was. And honestly, for me, it didn't feel a whole lot different from high school, other than the fact that, one, now I wasn't surrounded by loads of people I know all the time. And two, I didn't feel as pressured to get things done. I still definitely got things done, but the climate, the attitude from like the teachers and the staff and just everyone in general was, man, it's college. It's like, oh yeah, you should do well if you can, but if you don't, oh well. And
That
so,
just to add quick, I did have that realization when I was at my college one day. I just looked around and I'm like, it just kind of clicked. It's like, this isn't high school. No one cares about
no one cares.
anything about me, and I don't really care about them. We're just trying to get through classes. And like, for a few moments, I had just had this like breath of fresh air. It's like, everyone's at zero.
Hmm. Everyone is.
And
Everyone. That's
like,
true.
any, and there were people from age 18 to like age 45, and we're just
Yeah.
all trying to pass classes.
You're all in here doing your thing. And I hate to say it because it wasn't necessarily a bad experience, but my college experience was simply mundane. There was nothing remarkable about it in any way that makes it memorable for me. It was and that's not to say I didn't enjoy the time with the people I went with. I still remember some of the people I had classes with and some of the things we did. Like for my sociology class, one of the assignments we had was we had to go out in public and break a social norm. I don't mean run out in the middle of the street
Oh,
and scream slurs. No, 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 no.
I've
Not
heard of
that kind of.
this too, and it
Not,
just
I still have all three videos. Only one's uploaded to YouTube, but it's private. But yeah, you have to go out and you just have to do something oddball, out of the ordinary. Like for example, the three things we did. The one, which was my idea, which I'm really proud of because this is stupid, is we filled a Windex bottle full of Gatorade.
I've heard
and
of
then, and then we'd walk around going, "Hey, do you know what the new flavor of Windex is?" And people are like, "What?" And you go, "Well, let me check." And you spray the Windex in your mouth. Always, always great. Um, but outside of those memorable things that we did, my experience in college was just sort of like, eh, I'm here. I'm doing my thing. It's definitely not high school, so I don't feel the same social atmosphere that I did with like, oh, I have to be perfect at this. And it was just kind of like once I got done with the 1 year, it was like, why am I what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I was running through the list over and over and I couldn't pick any one thing. I was like, I'm an 18-year-old kid fresh out of school. Now I'm a 19-year-old kid fresh out of 1 year of college. What am I supposed to just pick for a career? And it was like, meh. And that was about the time that I was talking to my recruiter, and that dastardly man made me sign my life away for 4 years. Ah. But it did have some upside because even though my 1 year of college wasn't particularly amazing, it did allow me to enter the military as a contract E2, which for those who are not in the know means I
like
got
me.
contract PFC. Instead of entering as just buck private, I got to enter as a PFC because I had just enough hours to squeak by and get that start with one extra rank up. So that was that was the good thing that came out of my 1 year. I don't remember a single thing I learned in any of those classes, to be honest with you. I just know that it gave me just enough to go get my a little bump in pay when I joined the military. So that was my college experience. Nothing phenomenal.
So, do you have any future plans of school? Do you want to go back or
I do eventually want to go back to school. Um, I feel like I would go to trade school or technical school. As I stated earlier, I feel like big college is a bit of a scam. Not necessarily that higher education is bad. There are plenty of things that higher education is necessary for and can improve your job prospects in many ways.
video to come? Because
Yeah,
I
video to
think we could
come.
talk about that a lot.
But yeah, I think I would probably go to technical school. The only issue is that I'm unsure of what I would do. There's a lot of possibilities out there, and I would just say my fear is that I'm going to pick something, I'm going to get partway into it, and I'm going to realize, oh man, this kind of sucks. And so, yes, I would like to go to school in the future. Right now, I'm just trying to kind of feel out like, hey, what seems like it's a career that I could really pick to take going forward for the rest of my life? And that is a question that I feel like a lot of people have. And one of the things that I can tell you is don't feel like you have to have one picked by tomorrow. I mean, there are a lot of different jobs out there. Go get some experience. Get lots of different experience. Go be a manager for Taco Bell. Go work some trades for a while. Go do this, go do that. Go build a portfolio of different experience because I will tell you now that when I do decide to go back to school, I can tell that I will be in a very different mindset than I would have been about a decade ago. Oh my god, almost a decade ago. If I had jumped right into college with a major in mind almost a decade ago, then it would have been a completely different mindset going into it. But now it's a much more relaxed and confident and okay, I know if I'm going to choose something, I'm going to choose something that I have invested time and effort into myself to do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but sure. We'll go with that.
For me, I've wanted to go back to school for a while. And for 2 or 3 years, I would say it was more like just so I can say that I passed and that I did it and I didn't fail for the most part. And one thing that honestly I've been struggling with for a while is I'll jump from like passion to passion to passion to passion. And like the podcast is like an anchor. It's at least like
My
that passion is
my
still
main
like,
point.
hey, like it's gonna be here. So with that being said, the last couple weeks mostly, and just to summarize, when I was in high school, I kind of thought about maybe I'd enjoy being a mechanic, and I even thought about this when I picked IT, and but it was never something I had really talked about much. So I even knew a mechanic, but I was too shy to talk to him about it. And then it kind of died off after a few years, and it recently it's picked back up. And now that I have a roommate who like knows cars in and out, I feel like I can freely like express myself and figure that out. But these past couple weeks, I've gotten a kick like maybe motorcycles, and I've been like looking into um, a lot of YouTube videos, articles, stuff like that, and like possibly getting one. And then there's a tech school that does. I can go and get a degree in motorcycle uh, mechanic and marine, and it'd be one
Yeah,
year of
there you go.
school, and I'd be making about the same I am at my current job.
There you go.
So right now it's I when I get a new passion, like I'm super passionate about it, but it usually dies off. So I'm just kind of like making sure it's something that I would maybe want to do. And on top of it, like I said, academic suspension might make it a little funkier because I think I got to state a case on why I should be allowed is the big thing. And I mean, I got 7 years from then and now to be like, hey, this is how I've grown as a human being
I'm a
and
different
why it's
person.
not going to happen again.
Which I should state, academic suspension is possibly the dumbest thing I've heard of because it's like, I'm already giving you my money. If I'm going to fail at the classes, that's on me, not you. So
I think
I
it's
just
more
wanted to state that fact.
I think it's more so you don't financially hurt yourself. I think that's the big thing. It's like, hey, like if you're not going to take this seriously, like you're not going to be coming to school because this is a big commitment and we don't want you destroying your life in student loans all for nothing. Even though we're going to destroy your life in student loans regardless. But you know,
Yeah.
another video, another video. Um
I was going to say, I got a lot of thoughts about that. So
um
save that.
anyways, so it's something that I'm kind of debating. Like, I know classes start in August, so it's like 2 months. Do I want to? Do I want to go into it? It's like, am I going to be that passionate? Like with what you said, like, am I going to get into it? Then partway through, be like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And on top of that, my fiance will be going to college. And do we want to go at the same time, or do I want to wait until she's done? And it's like, what if I wait a year and then it's like, oh yeah, I'd be starting classes and then the wedding would be literally the next month. So
Be like, oh
it's,
my God.
yeah, it's just something personally I'm trying to think about right now. But right now it's really, really interesting me.
There's a lot of factors that go into deciding to go to school, and honestly, I think it's a darn shame that we pressure kids so hard to go to school right away. So it's, oh, you got to go to
Yep.
school right now, because I think it puts a lot of undue pressure, especially on young kids, to pick something, pick a career, pick a job, pick whatever that they don't know a whole lot about it. They don't have experience in the world, so they can't comprehend what all might have to go into it. Sure, they might have an idea, but it's there's a lot of factors that contribute to it, and personally I think that experience in the real world is the best determinant source to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? And then once you figure that out, remind yourself that, hey, I might not always be happy with this, but I know that this is something in the long run I will enjoy doing for the work I've done. So even though I might not be happy right now, I'm going to commit to this and push through regardless. And that's
And
one of the big things that experience is a great teacher at, is figuring out what stuff you'll commit yourself to and what stuff you don't want to commit yourself to.
I I mean, I've been saying this a lot. Like, I really want to dive deep into like the whole college. Is it worth it? So I won't go too much into that, and try and wrap this up here shortly. The one thing I want to say is after I got my academic suspension, I became a cashier, then became an assistant manager in a different department. Within 2 years, I became a plumbing department manager at age 22, and then worked in a different department after that, switched jobs, became a warehouse lead, and I'm still in the warehouse work, but someone talked about this with someone last week at work, and I mentioned like, oh yeah, I traveled for work when I was a manager. He's like, I'm 40 and I've never been able to say that in my life. It just kind of made me realize like I have a lot of experience, and I could say at 20, I think I was 20 or 21 years old, I flew a plane to go to a work conference. So,
Yeah, that's something usually like CEOs and business majors do. That's not necessarily something you could say as a 20-year-old.
yeah,
That's usually reserved for like the children of millionaires who are forced to attend.
it kind of and it kind of put in perspective with that, like, and even though I failed college, I was still able to have that experience, and now I can literally put it on my resume. Like, I was 20 years old when I took my first business trip.
I didn't get no per diem though, so it sucked.
And I've been forklift certified for 6 years.
Oh, my
And I'm not
man.
even 30.
I've never been forklift certified. I know how to run one, but I don't think I can say that I'm forklift. That's a lie. I am forklift certified because I just forgot because I never used the forklift at our
I'm
work.
certified,
I
but
just never used it. Does it count if I've been running bobcats and telehandlers since I was a young lad who was tall enough to reach the pedals and work the joysticks? Because if
you could
so,
prob
then yeah,
you could probably put that on. Like, I was certified by the farm.
experienced using heavy farm machinery from the age of 7. And they're going to be looking at, was he a child laborer? No, 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 no.
It was different.
Unpaid. It was indentured servitude.
Good old small town Midwest. Like,
uh,
I know people who drove a tractor when they were 4.
and still panicked on their driver's test. Oh
I think
man.
we've talked a lot about this, but um,
I think we hit all the important wickets.
in my experience, one, like, if you don't do the greatest in school, you can still do a lot of cool stuff. Like, if you're if you're not taking it super serious, just join the workforce and try and climb up whatever ladder it is, or like Ian said, try one job, do that a couple years, switch jobs, just build up a good resume. It's like I can do this, 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 and this. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
you're 28 and you can do a lot of different stuff.
Got a lot of different skills that I've learned. Skills, I would say, just a caveat off of that, showing skills that you can perform is infinitely more important than a piece of paper with grades that says, oh, this person is really smart on paper. And that's not to say that grades and performance and academics don't have their measure in this world. They certainly do. But it's one thing to say that you can do something, and it's another thing to show that you can do something. Just little tidbits to remember and keep in your mind, kids.
But with that, talked, we've lectured you enough for this
All
episode.
right, now get off my lawn. Yeah, you kids, get out of my neighborhood. The old man yells at cloud meme. That's all I'm thinking of right now.
Thank you guys for BSing with us. If you want to become a Bud today, comment, like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is you want to do, leave it down below. If you want us to deep dive into anything else, let us know. And we will see you next time when I figure out if I should be a motorcycle mechanic or not.
But in the meantime, you just take her easy now.